South Carolina was a walled city from 1690 to 1720. It was the only fortified walled town in English North America. The wall is currently on the other side of White Point Garden, which is over there. What we're standing on now is an old seawall built in 1818. This is White Point Gardens. It's built atop artificial fill. This whole area used to be swampland at one time in the early days of Charleston. It was all filled in with shells, bricks, basically garbage. And there's a lot of space in between the ground, and it's not very stable. So if another big earthquake happens, like the one that happened in 1886, like another 7.2 magnitude, this whole area is going to liquefy and fall into the sea. So enjoy it while it lasts, folks. Here. This used to be a battery made by a German engineer during the 7 Years' War. Pirates like Stede Bonnet were hung here. Now it's a garden.
This is what we think is part of the 1769 fortified seawall that went through here, wrapped the end of White Point Gardens at Broughton's Battery, and then cut north up on the East Battery. So it's kind of the last remaining section of this late 18th century fortification. And we're really trying to see the different sections of the walls that exist today and try and uncover these different periods of development and repairs.
So basically we're talking about a brick and Bermuda stone seawall that was in this area built in the summer of 1769. And we're trying to identify this exposed brickwork and see if it is in fact that 1769 wall. And what we're finding, the physical evidence and the documentary evidence appears to indicate that what we're looking at are early 19th century significant repairs to that 1769 wall. And we know from other documentary evidence that the hurricanes of 1800 and 1804 did significant damage to the battery seawall, East Battery, and probably did significant damage here. So the repairs, the 19th century repairs using brick and stone are probably indicative of that repair to this 1769 wall.
Well, it was contracted by the city. They paid a number of different people for the actual work. One of the guys, Josiah Smith, lived at 7 Meeting Street. He built 7 Meeting Street, right down on the left. And that was the last house on Meeting at the time this was constructed. So we have some limited records on the individuals who did it, but it's kind of a wide smattering. Originally had a 2.5-foot Bermuda stone base, another 2 feet of brick on top of that below grade, and then 5 feet of brick above grade that made up the actual wall in its original form. And then it's gone through some different repairs and changes since then.
We're finding a huge amount of rubble that is Bermuda stone. So we know that this 1769 wall had a Bermuda stone foundation, and there is a huge amount of Bermuda stone here that's kind of been mucked out and reused or recycled as fill in those 19th century repairs. So I think the Bermuda stone is a key indication that this is that 1769 line, and somewhere in this repair material are parts of the 1769 wall. This wall would have been on a beach in 1769, and now the Ashley River is 100 feet out that way.
Some of it was underwater. It should be between 15 and 20 feet tall. And it was originally put on, this is what I do know, it was originally put on a palmetto log raft foundation and then covered with mud so it wouldn't move in the silty, swampy soil.
This 1769 wall is the first phase of taking this waterfront beach and turning it into highland. We're absolutely going to cover this back up because it's a little bit of a hazard. And really our mission is to try to identify this wall. We're investigating it, trying to figure out what it is, so the city of Charleston can then take that information and decide how they want to interpret this or protect it. And that's up to the city.
We're at the home of Josiah Smith. He was one of the people contracted for building the old city wall. He used a team of slaves to help him build the wall. There are about 30 slaves that worked in the spring, summer, and fall to work on the wall. It took a few years to build. They didn't work in the winter because they'd be standing and waist up in water. And the masters of the plantations, or wherever they got the slaves from, didn't want them working in the winter due to be so cold. So yeah, Josiah Smith's house. I'll just cut that off. This is East Battery Street, one of the most beautiful streets in all of Charleston. Actually, under some of these old antebellum homes is where the old wall used to run. So under the foundation of these homes is the old wall, if you dig deep enough. This whole street actually wasn't here when the old wall was here, it was actually just ocean. It wasn't until the seawall was built where the street came to be. This is actually a bed and breakfast, not a bar. At this intersection is where the old drawbridge was. This drawbridge is what would let people inside and outside of the old city wall. Now it's the Four Corners of Justice, the middle of downtown Charleston, South Carolina. To my left you have a church, which symbolizes God's justice. To my right, you have a post office, which symbolizes federal justice, federal government. Behind me, you have the city courthouse. The city courthouse represents the city government. To my left, you have a state building, which represents the South Carolina state government. So you have city, state, federal, and divine justice all on one street corner. I'm standing right now next to the old Exchange and Provost dungeon, which was completed in 1771, around the same time the wall was being built. And actually underneath the foundation of this building is where the Half Moon Battery was. The Half Moon Battery was a series of cannons that stuck out from the old city wall. If you go down in the basement of this building into the actual dungeon, you can see part of the Half Moon Battery sticking out.